It's Johnny Venezia with RotoWire. We're going to play a little Would You Rather game here for the 2025 fantasy football rankings. Two players at the same position at similar ADPs. We're going to decide who would we rather have for our fantasy football team. First up, it's going to be Jaxson, Smith-Njigba, wide receiver 13 versus Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 14. Both going around the early 30s according to Fantasy Pros PPR rankings. Jaxson, Smith-Njigba, great year last year, was a breakout, 100 grabs, 1,130 yards, 6 tutties. 2025, it is the first time he is the full-on wide receiver 1 in the Seattle offense. He's got a brand new quarterback in Sam Darnold, but Mike McDonald ready to go. Balanced approach, a lot of play action. According to what I've been reading and what I've been hearing from camp, it should be a similar type of offense that Darnold ran in Minnesota in terms of the balance, having playmakers on the outside as well as some running back attacks. So I think Sam Darnold could ultimately transition pretty nicely into the greater Northwest. Meanwhile, for Garrett Wilson, strong year with Aaron Rodgers, 101 catches, 1,104 yards, 7 scores. Devontae Adams is gone. Now, it's the sole focus of the offense in the pass game for Garrett Wilson with Justin Fields as his new QB1. We do know Justin Fields gears a little bit towards running the football over throwing it. I think, listen, both of these guys are great players. I think they're both going to be pretty good in fantasy this year, and I don't think you can make a wrong decision. But I think in terms of the week-to-week consistency, JSN is going to look a little bit better. I feel like Sam Darnold, I trust him a little bit more in terms of running the offense with a passing purpose. And I just think there's a lot of options in Seattle. Cooper Kupp is there. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are both gone. Kenny Walker is there as well as Zach Charbonnet. So there's some options here in the Seattle offense. But I think JSN, there's just too many weapons for opposing defenses to key on him solely. Whereas Garrett Wilson, I think that's not the case anymore. Defenses are going to be looking at him primarily. Other than him and like Breece Hall, there's not that many options for this Jets offense in terms of skilled players on the outside. So I think JSN, higher floor, probably a little bit more of a higher ceiling. I will go with JSN over Garrett Wilson. Next up, we're going to go with Kenny Walker versus Chuba Hubbard. Kenny Walker, RB17, Hubbard, RB18. It was an injury-plagued 2024 for Walker. 153 carries, 573 yards, 7 scores. Obviously, he dealt with injuries, whereas Chuba Hubbard became the RB1 and the bell cow for Carolina last year. 250 carries, 1,195 yards, 10 scores. Big difference between these two. Kenny Walker, who's now in a contract year, who's going to be playing for that big payday for next year. He's got a capable backup in Zach Charbonnet, a guy who has standalone fantasy value, a guy who has proven when Kenny Walker's out can handle 18 to 20 carries in a game and do some pretty impressive things with that. Whereas our guy Chuba Hubbard, man, really came out of nowhere. It's his backfield. This is the guy that I think is going to be moving forward with Carolina, transitioning them into maybe their future year. The way they ended last year, it could be a big setup for 2025 for these Carolina Panthers. So I think I'd probably go with Hubbard, a little less injury risk than Kenny Walker, as well as no true threat as his RB2 like a Charbonnet. I mean, Rico Dowdle is going to be the backup, but I'm not worried that Dowdle's going to come in and steal the backfield at least right away. But I do like Chuba Hubbard this year. I like them both again, but I think I'd probably lean with Hubbard a little bit more concerned about the injury risk and the Zach Charbonnet experience behind for Kenny Walker. If you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And right now, RotoWire is going to give you 15% off of any product on rotowire.com. That includes our fantasy football rankings, our draft kit, and access to our experts on Sunday mornings for those tough start-sit decisions. Use code YouTube15 at checkout. Next on down here, let's go with a little RB comparison. Chase Brown, RB11 versus Jonathan Taylor, RB10. Great years from both of these guys last year. Chase Brown was not the full-time RB1 out of the gate. It took him a few weeks to get there, but he still put up an awesome season. 220 carries, 990 yards, 7 scores to go along with 54 catches in the pass game. High-powered offense for Cincinnati. We know that. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Now Chase Brown really commanding that backfield. It's his. No more Zach Moss. Yes, you got a little Samaje Perine here and there, but this is the Chase Brown show. Going to be the goal line guy, going to be the guy out of the backfield catching the passes. So we should expect a lot of volume and efficiency for Chase Brown, as well as some added touchdowns. Fact is, because you're in a high-powered offense, you can't key in on him. There's just so many options, but he is the guy that's going to be getting all the carries. So I think Chase Brown's very interesting in that regard to follow up an even bigger year to last year. Whereas Jonathan Taylor, man, I mean, he looked dynamic yet again. 303 carries, 1,431 yards, 11 scores. Went absolutely nuts in the fantasy football playoffs. If last year, if you had him, you probably won your league because of a couple of just huge outputs. A little bit of concern is the QB situation's in flux here in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson banged up his finger, but it's between him and Danny Dimes, and we just don't know what that looks like yet. I think there's probably a scenario where he's going to face a lot of loaded boxes again, a lot of 7-8 man boxes. And one thing that I would say is a little bit concerning with Jonathan Taylor, I think we could be seeing a regression. He had over 300 carries last year. Most of the time, for most backs, unless you're like Derrick Henry, these guys that have 300 carries, the next year, we typically see a little bit of a regression to the mean. Not necessarily a bad year, but they very rarely follow up that big year. So that's something of a concern for me. I feel like Chase Brown, because he doesn't really have a lot of miles on him, he's in a better offense. He's not so reliant on just getting it done on the ground. He can get it done through the air as well. Would be my preferred back. Again, I don't think you could really go wrong here, but I would probably take Chase Brown over Jonathan Taylor because it's a little bit more balanced and he's not going to be keyed in on as heavily as Jonathan Taylor will because the offense flows through him. Last but not least, let's do a little Calvin Ridley versus George Pickens. George Pickens, wide receiver 29, Ridley, wide receiver 30. For Ridley, it was 64 catches, 1,017 yards, 4 scores last year. For Pickens, it was 59 catches, 900 yards, 3 scores. Both are in different quarterback situations than last year. Ridley had a revolving door. It was a lot of Will Levis. Pickens was in Pittsburgh, a lot of Russell Wilson. Now Pickens is down in Dallas with Dak Prescott. He's the wide receiver 2 behind CeeDee Lamb, whereas Calvin Ridley remains the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee, but he's got a brand new superstar quarterback in Cam Ward. Talked a little bit about both of these guys. I feel like the Cam Ward experience is going to make a huge difference for Ridley. I'm not even saying that because I saw some flashy highlights on SportsCenter from the preseason game, but I liked it coming into the summer. As soon as Ridley and Ward got announced that they were going to be teaming up in Tennessee, Ridley still got great speed, man. He's still a great route runner. He'll create separation. I know he's gotten up there in age. It's not the same Calvin Ridley from 2018, but I think this is still a guy that's going to be very productive with Ward. The passing game is going to flow through these two guys. And I feel like if you're looking at somebody like George Pickens, yes, he's a big 1v1 winner, 50-50 ball, all that stuff. But the passing game flows through CeeDee Lamb. And I think Pickens could be productive because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one looks. Lamb is going to take a lot of the attention away. There's going to be a lot of pass attempts in Dallas because I think this is going to be a pass-heavy offense. But I just don't know if he's consistent enough. I feel like Ridley this year will be a little bit closer to like that 85 catch, 1,200 yard range, whereas Pickens could be like 60 to 70 catches, maybe 1,000 yards. Like maybe 7 or 8 touchdowns, maybe some of those like 30 beans in a week where he goes like 8 catches for $130, a score or 2. But I feel like Ridley's going to be a little bit more consistent week to week. Cam Ward's got his receiver. He's going to lock in on Calvin Ridley. So I will go with Ridley at wide receiver 30 over Pickens, wide receiver 29.